Welcome back, third graders. Today we are going to be continuing on with our Kimmy Cantrell inspired mask, and the video is still playing on the background. And so I am just going to use one of the handouts that I had as my mask, so I can kind of show you the steps. So hopefully everyone has created a mask or a design, and then on a separate piece of paper, I already cut all my pieces out, but on a separate piece of paper, I'm tilting my mask thing down. On a separate piece of paper, a separate piece of white paper, you cut out all of the pieces. So I retraced all of these pieces onto another sheet of white paper, and then you cut all those sections out. So these are all my little pieces that go to my mask, and I cut them all out on white paper. Now the next step is to pick some construction paper so that you have some color, because we want to add color. So the first step after you cut all your pieces out is to pick probably 2 sheets of construction paper about this size, and there's a cart right in the back of the room that has all the construction paper on it, the big sheets. On the table behind the construction paper is baskets that have strips of color. So you're going to have to grab some strips of color that you'll use for all of the pieces, and then 2 sheets of big ones. So one sheet is going to be your background, and I'm going to choose black. And the other sheet will be the sheet that you're going to use to cut out your base or the head of your mask. So this is my head, and I've already cut it out. I traced it onto the purple paper, and I cut it out. Okay. So for this part of the project, you're going to need your pencil and your design, glue. If you don't have glue, there should be glue on your table, and a scissors. And again, if you don't have your own scissors, there's one on the table, and a pencil or something to trace with. So I traced my mask, and I put my purple down, and I'm going to glue it onto my black paper. My next thing that I traced the lips. And I'm going to kind of make my lips, because remember, Kimmy Cantrell did asymmetrical, so they're not exactly the same on both sides. So I'm going to kind of make my lips go off and then glue those down. The next piece that I think I'll use is my nose. And I cut the nose piece out, and I'm going to put it down, I think, on green paper. And the first step is to trace it. So I'm going to trace it on, and I'm going to try and use the construction paper so that I don't waste a lot. So get it close up to the edge so that I can put this strip, if I'm not going to use it, this strip can go back into the basket where the green strips are. So think about how you're using the construction paper and placing your items. A student in the last class used orange, so they used orange to create their base, and then they also used a little bit of orange for, I think, their eye. The next step the student should have done, but I grabbed it to use it as an example, is to cut off that piece and cut this. So now we have a bunch of extra pieces that can go in the basket and somebody else can use as their design pieces. So I have my nose on my green sheet. I'm going to cut it out. And if you don't want your pencil's lines to show, either cut right on the pencil line or flip it over after you cut it out. So my pencil line still shows a little bit. So instead of gluing it so it shows, I'm just going to flip it around, and yes, it'll be mirror image, and glue it down. So I'm looking at my design, but I'm going kind of different. So I am going to glue each piece down, and I first have to glue the head piece down. And again, don't use a lot of glue. I just used a little bit of ribbon around the outside, and now I'm going to glue down each of the masks. You always put glue on the smaller item that you're gluing to the bigger piece. And you can really just do dots of glue. If you have a glue stick, you certainly can use that. Glue sticks don't always work with construction paper. It eventually gives out. But think about how much glue you're using. So I have, and again, I'm going to try and make mine asymmetrical. So far I've got my lips, my base, and a nose down. So I'm going to continue creating with all of the other pieces that I have. So I have a bunch more pieces to cut out with my construction paper, and then gluing it down onto my base. So again, you'll need a base paper. You'll need a paper for the head. You know, I guess we'll call it a head because we're doing masks. And then you'll need some individual strips that you're going to trace the eyes on. So you're going to trace it, and again, trying to use the space to the best of your ability versus sticking it right in the middle and tracing. So think about the placement and use the end of the paper so that you can cut it off and put this big strip back into the basket where the yellow is. So have fun creating your mask inspired by, this is my design, inspired by Kimmy Cantrell. So I can't wait to see what everybody does and how they're going to create their asymmetrical, meaning the sides aren't the same on both sides of the face. Have fun creating your mask inspired by the African-American artist Kimmy Cantrell, who is still alive and living and working and creating artwork as I speak. So have fun. Can't wait to see what you guys are creating. Inspired by Kimmy Cantrell.